Okay, we're continuing with our lever handle part model. In the first video, I created the rails that are going to be necessary for the loft. Now I need to create the sketches that will be used for the sections. We're going to have 3 sections. One at the top is an ellipse, another one partway down is another ellipse, and then at the bottom here the shape transitions to a circle. So in order to place sketches at these locations, I need to create some work planes because my Z plane, I guess it would be, passes through the middle here, but it doesn't pass through it vertically. And since it's down here, it's not up here or here either. So let's finish this sketch and add some work planes. And there's lots of different ways to select the placement of a plane. The one that's going to work best for us in this case is parallel to a plane through a point. In other words, I want to make my first one up here at the top parallel to the XZ plane, but I don't want it down here. I want it to pass through this point up here at the top. So there's one sketch plane. Now the second one, if you look at the sketch here, it shows a section being cut through the lever handle partway up, but it never really says, vertically speaking, where this section is located. So I place mine actually a little bit lower than what it appears to be right here at the end of this line where the line transitions into the curve. Basically 24 millimeters down from here. That seems to be as good as any place to put it since it's not specified in the given drawing. So I'll place another work plane parallel to an existing plane through an existing point. Again, parallel to the XZ plane, and this time I want it to pass through there, that end point. That's the end of this line and the beginning of that curve. And the third sketch plane, again, I'm going to use the same placement parallel to a plane through a point, but this time the plane I want it to be parallel to is the YZ plane, and I'll have it go through that point right there. So now I have my work planes. These are the surfaces upon which I can place my sketches. So I'll place a sketch up here, and I actually like looking at this from let's try to get this rearranged here. I was going to say from an isometric point of view. So I want my ellipse to touch the top and bottom of the rails here and have a width at the top of 16 millimeters. So I'll select an ellipse and give it a width. Well, it doesn't really matter. I'm just kind of eyeballing it for now. Okay, there we go. We'll get it into the right shape by constraining it. So I'm going to do that by constraining the ellipse. I want it to be on the end points of these purple lines. Now, it's not letting me select that right now. So I will project it onto my sketch plane. I will project the geometry of these two lines. They show up on the plane as yellow points. You can see the little yellow dots there. And now I can constrain the ellipse to be on that point and on that point. You'll see it's still not fully constrained. I haven't specified its width yet, the length of its major axis. I just select dimension, click on the ellipse, and I can specify the width here of being, let's see, 4.75. No, that's not right. I want it to be at the top, a width of 16. Half of 16 is 8. All right, now I'm noticing my ellipse is a little crooked here. Let's see, how can I fix that? I know what I can do. I can add a vertical constraint and then click, there we go, on the ellipse. It shows the major axis. The major axis is the long one, the minor axis is the short one. I constrained it to be vertical, and that got it not to be crooked anymore. Okay, let's go back to my isometric view here. So that ellipse is fully constrained. Now, where did the width of that come from? How did I get 16? If you look right up here at the top, from this point to here is dimensioned as 16. See how the lever is, the handle is tapering as it goes up? At the very top, it has a width of 16. So this elliptical cross-section at its very top has a width of 16. Now as it comes down, it gets wider. And at this point where I'm going to place my next section, it widens out from 16 to 18 millimeters. The 7 millimeter minor axis, though, stays consistent. So I just need to add another 2D sketch on my second work plane. And I need to then... Oh, that didn't work. Let's try that again. 2D sketch on this work plane. There we go. That created the sketch. I prefer looking at it from an isometric point of view. In fact, I like to kind of try to orbit it around like so. And in fact, let's do this. Let's set this view as the home view. Inventor has a bad habit of flipping around what the home view is, but so sometimes you have to remind it. When I hit the home button, this is the way I want to look at it. So I'm going to add another ellipse. Okay, so I made it on the origin. It might be a little bit crooked. I might need to constrain that. But again, I will project the geometry of these lines so that they appear as dots. So I constrain the ellipse to that one as well as that one. And let's give it a vertical constraint so that it's not crooked. And dimension its major axis. This time we want half of 18, which would be 9. Okay, so I've got my two ellipses. Now I just need to make the circle. Let's finish this sketch. Add another sketch on this third work plane. I'm going to place my circle's center right there and end it right there. Let's dimension that 20 millimeters. Finish the sketch. So now I have all the section sketches I need. It starts off with a relatively skinny ellipse, gets a little bit wider, and then it will transition into a circle. And I have the rails here indicating how I want my loft to go from the first to last section. So I'm all ready now to make the loft. So I come up here to the Create toolbar and select Loft, and it is prompting me to add sections. So those sections will be in order: the first ellipse, the second ellipse, and the third circle. If I look at this from the side, you can see if we didn't specify the rails, Inventor would just kind of come up with a path all on its own, which is just a smooth transition from one section to the next. That's not exactly how we want this to go, though. That's why we made the rails. So now we will add our rails by selecting the outer line and the inner line and hit OK. And there we have it. We have our handle. So we just need to add the extrusion here at the top, and at the bottom a revolve and a couple additional features. I think I'll do that in the next video, but before I go on to that, I personally prefer for work planes to be invisible when your work is submitted. So I compare them to scaffolding used to build a building. They're necessary, they're useful in construction, but when construction's finished, they should not be visible. So I'm going to come over here to my 3 work planes and uncheck their visibility to make them invisible. I don't want to see them. I can't delete them because they are supporting the sketches which we use to make the 3D feature. So we can't delete them, but we can make them invisible. So I'll stop right there and finish this part up in the next video.